Hello everyone, it is Sunday night and we are coming to you live from inside of Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida to help you wind down your weekend. As always, I'm your host Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in indie and small press new releases. But of course, if we're going to wind down our weekend, we've got to kick it off with what wine we're drinking. And we are drinking a very special wine tonight because this is a gift from one of our customers and one of our Wind Down Your Weekend watchers, Kareem. And this is, I'm going to say it wrong, Tenuta le Colonne. And it is a red blend from Bolgheri, and it is supposed to have like Cab Franc and a bunch of other different kinds of reds in there. So we're really excited to give it a try. And also, thank you, Kareem. Shout out for bringing us wine. We absolutely love that. Oh, it smells very fruity. It smells very rich.
They said fruity.
Mm-hmm.
Smoky, leathery.
Yeah, let me see. Let's taste it.
Oh, yeah. They did say cigar.
I don't know what cigars taste like. Does it taste like a cigar to you?
Kind of.
Kind
it's
of?
definitely earthy.
It definitely has an earthy taste to it. And but with the fruit. Like you like a really highly blending fruit. In the way that like Italian wines do always have like a strong like grape flavor. I feel like you're getting that, and then like the blend is all those other flavors. But I also think that it's going to open up into a ton of different flavors because of the fact that it does have, if you're saying like cigar and leather and all of those things, like I'm really curious to see what it tastes like in like 30 minutes, which we'll find out because we'll be drinking this throughout the night and letting you know what we think of it. If you're hanging out with us, winding down your weekend, even without wine, let us know that you're here. We want to hear it. If you're watching later in the comments, drop a note for us. There's always the playback, so we'd love to hear what exciting things have been going on, what books you're loving this week, all of that. And then speaking of exciting things going on, it was a huge week for Bat City. We not only, just having like fun collections coming through the door and so many of you getting to find new books you've been looking for forever, but we had the absolute honor of getting to launch Destination Angola, which is a 6-part comic series that we did in conjunction with Reflections of Manatee to actually tell the story of the Angola Maroon community, which is right here in Bradenton. And we get to talk about, the series follows them from book 1 when they actually, the people are escaping enslavement in the Georgia area of America and coming into Spanish occupied Florida. We get to see their journey as they make their way through Florida all the way down to here in Bradenton, right on the Manatee River, living in Manatee Mineral Springs Park, long before that ever was a park of any kind. And then we get to see where they moved from there. What happened after there was attacks by Andrew Jackson that led them back, some into enslavement and some towards the Bahamas to launch their community in the Red Bays area. And so we're really excited to have gotten to launch that comic in conjunction with Reflections of Manatee and with the Back to Angola Festival, which is such a cool opportunity because the people of Angola, the people of the Bahamas and Red Bays didn't know that this is where their family history came from until just a few years ago. And so getting to celebrate that with a festival every year for the last 8 years and getting to come and be a part of that this year as this with this comic and getting to launch that experience was just really cool to get to talk to the descendants about their stories and their connection to these moments that we were able to put in comic format. Those books will be coming out. You are going to get a chance to see them. Hopefully we'll have some available at Bradenton Art and Music Festival. We should have some available at Free Comic Book Day. Reflections will be here selling copies of those as well during that. And so we'll keep you posted on when there's opportunities to buy those 6 comics. But thank you so much to Reflections and to Oak Tree and to Back to Angola Festival and to Daphne Town specifically for letting us be a part of that project. She's one of the descendants who kind of heads up so much of that experience, and we're so glad that we got get to be a part of it. There's a lot coming this week as well. This is the big start of a lot of the monthly activities. So you're going to see book club, where Fresh Start Book Club is meeting this week, and we're talking Wicked and Divine #1. We've got comic creation workshops at 11:30 and 3:30 on Saturday, and so there is
what day was book club?
Book club's Thursday. Thursday at 7 p.m. So yeah, you'll come join us for that. And if you haven't read it yet, we've got $1 copies of Wicked and Divine #1, so you can jump into that. So there's so much going on in the next couple of weeks. Like I mentioned, Bradenton Art and Music Festival, that is March 28th down on the Riverwalk from 11 to 7 p.m. All of our fun and exciting Remake Learning events are coming up in April, and of course we have Free Comic Book Day coming May 2nd. So just start marking your calendars and watching those Bad City social media so you can see when all those events are happening. I'm going to take another drink of this wine that we got from our buddy Kareem. Oh yeah, that's already starting to change. Mm-hmm.
What fruit is that?
I'm not sure.
I don't know either. It's very tart. It's like a raspberry almost.
Yeah, there's something there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk about some comics. This was a really, really good week for comics. Like every issue, I was like, "Ooh, I love this issue. This could be a pick of the week, or this could be a pick of the week." So I'm trying to mix it up and give you a couple different things this week from what we normally do. But we've got Hello Darkness, issue 19 from Boom Studios, and this amazing Ginny Frizen, like, water cover, I love it. I love this woman getting, like, pulled down by all the darkness, and we definitely see some stories that are really dark in this. This first one is from Tate Brombal and Peter Kowalski, and it is about a guy who feels like he's an imposter in his own life until one day somebody else shows up at his doorstep and starts actually like living his life for him. And he's like, "Oh, thank goodness." I'm going to cover this page because it's a little racy. He's like, "Oh, thank goodness. I don't have to deal with my wife anymore. I don't have to deal with my kid. I don't have to deal with my job." But of course, then the jealousy kind of hits him, and he kind of starts to hate this person who's better at living his own life than him. And we kind of see how that plays out. The second story in here is a story about a woman who works as a maid, and she keeps trying to convince herself that she's just there for the paycheck and nothing else. But we do start to see that there is a strange darkness in this house, and with this woman that she is a maid for. And as we see her connections to some really brutal ways of being a manager, and this woman slowly climbs the ranks by default and starts to find herself further and further invested in this relationship with this manager that she works for. Such a cool story. And then we have another one that's all about an old woman who is suffering some dementia-type symptoms during a zombie apocalypse kind of situation. And what is real for her and what is real for us is very, very different. And it's actually also kind of interesting because you almost wonder if, because our narrator herself is unreliable in seeing things, if is any of it really truly real, or is it all something that is kind of made in her mind? It's such a cool, awesome story, and you're gonna love it. And then lastly, we have the second part of the Cassie story coming to us from Sam Humphries. This is about a girl who wants to play baseball so bad that she joins a team of hellspawn and demons, and we get to see how she calls upon that for her own powers as the story unfolds. We've got Sacrificers, issue 19 from Image Comics and the Giant Generator. I was just talking to somebody today, and they were like, "I really love fantasy stories. What should I read?" And I was like, I'm going to constantly tell people who love fantasy and sci-fi kind of stories that Sacrificers is absolutely one of the best books on the shelf, still at 19 issues in, and Rick Remender keeps building the story more and more. This is all about a world where the gods are immortal, but the way that they've gotten to that immortality is by literally sucking the soul out of their followers. And so each year a sacrifice is made. Families have to give up one of their children to go be a part of what they believe is working for the gods. Only we learn very quickly that what is actually happening is that the gods are sucking their souls, and they're taking that essence from them, and that is why they are considered sacrifices. We follow a pigeon who has been chosen as a sacrifice and has spent his whole life feeling like he didn't matter as he goes on this journey. We also follow the daughter of the sun and the moon gods, and we've been doing that for the last 19 issues. And in this arc, which is will always be the same, Rick Remender actually shows what happens after a revolution occurs and after you have kind of taken down those gods and you're trying to build the world in a better light and give everybody a stronger hope and a better system. And yet the more things change, the more they always stay the same. And that revolution and that darkness and the idea that like no god is a good god in this world continues to be relevant in each page of the story. And I'm going to cry if this book does actually ever come to an end because it's so good. We've got Cruel Universe Volume 2, Issue 8 from Oni Press and their EC imprint, where they have brought back all of the classic, like, EC comic kind of moments for us. And in this story, we've got a couple of different tales. The first one is called Blackout, and it is about a woman who is trying to leave her husband, who she does not have a great relationship with, and in the process of doing so, their smart house locks her in, and she's kind of forced to face in the darkness, deal with the husband that she wants so desperately to get away from. The second story is called Clinical Trial, and it is all about a man who works in a lab doing clinical trials, and he is determined to believe that maybe he can understand dating through that process, and decides to just become the absolute worst man on the planet in the way he treats women to see if that actually gets him the woman that he wants. And how that plays out was such a fantastic story. And then the last one in this is actually called Puppy Lake, and it is about the future when robots have decided that they no longer understand empathy the way that they should, and so they decide that they're going to have to do a test to see if you can actually develop empathy and by getting a pet, and how can that compassion come to you. And I love the twists and turns that one takes. We've got Godzilla issue 8 from IDW in the New Keisei era. This is actually like starting to really build up not only like what that new energy and new world is going to be, but also really build on the story that they established in the first arc. And so if you didn't read it yet, basically in this new era of Godzilla, that kaiju energy, which they call Keisei or Kaisei, I assume, is actually something that can be transferred into people. And so we're starting to see people who have these kaiju powers within them. And in the first arc, we were following Jason, who was joining G-Force, who had a lot against Godzilla and also had all of Godzilla's power and wanted to actually use it to fight Godzilla because he absolutely hated that Godzilla turned his mom into a villain and his dad was killed from the radiation of Godzilla exposure. In this arc, we are seeing all of the monsters kind of rise up because at the end of arc 1, we were left with the belief that Godzilla was dead. And so who is going to take over as the ruler of the monsters? And our G-Force team is having to figure out how to work together in a new way, because now they are suddenly facing themselves with every kaiju kind of moving in the same general direction, and they have to figure out where they're going and what they're going towards. And I know what they're going towards, and if you're reading this book, you know what they're going towards too. But if you're not reading this book, I'm not going to spoil it for you yet, and that is really nice of me, because this is the second issue of this arc where we know where that's going. And usually I'm like, you get one, but you know what, it is so cool, I'm gonna give you 2 next time. Though, I'm totally 100% not going to be able to hide from you what is happening. So you need to catch up with Godzilla right now and get on the same page, because the page is filled with awesomeness in this issue. We've got Nice House by the Sea, issue 8 from Vertigo, brought back by DC. We are seeing this story kind of really unfold. If you read Nice House on the Lake, you know that we were following along as a group of people were saved from the apocalypse by an alien who basically told them everybody else in the world is gone, but I've kept you so that I can keep you safe. Nice House by the Sea introduces us to another group of people who are also have been saved by some kind of, this alien creature who is like, I'm only supposed to choose so many people, but apparently we got 2 houses worth of people. In this series, we have finally actually seen the world where these 2 houses are going to meet, and it's not good. it's not great for anybody. This could have been a happy, joyous moment where we learned that other people were still around in the world. But as one group has figured out that there is more going on to who is allowed to survive and win, they kind of feel like the only way to do that is to take out the other house. And we're starting to see that turn in this issue and where that's really, really going to go, because people are really kind of building on the different relationships in this one for sure. Lost Fantasy issue 8 from Image Comics. Speaking of books that are really finding their footing, this is so great. And if you don't know, this book is actually co-written by Franklin Jonas, aka Frankie Jonas of Jonas Brothers fame. This is all about a magical world where we've got these hunters essentially whose job it is to protect the earth side of the world from all of the dangers of magic and things that are attacking them. And we've been following this one guy who looks a little like Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy and has a Buster Sword. And we've been following this guy, and he seems to have magic powers that nobody else really does, but he is a hunter and is actually the son of the hunters themselves. And now that his dad has gone missing, who runs this like hunter school, he finds himself on this warpath to figure out what happened to his dad. And guess what? We're learning that everything that he knows and everything that we know is not true. It's all a lie, and we are kind of piecing it together with him as he goes into this epic battle against the mysterious person who may be responsible for the disappearance and or death of his dad. Things are getting extremely crazy, but we're also starting to see a lot more lore come out in this world, and we're learning a lot about the witches and warlocks versus the hunters, and the lore that they are building with this book I'm so excited to see where it goes. Getting to talk to Franklin and getting to see how excited he was about the story, I definitely can't wait to see where it goes, because he's got a lot of big ideas for this book, and it's just starting to unfold. We've got Speed Racer issue 6 from Mad Cave. This has been so much fun, and if you are a fan of the old Speed Racer like anime, like the classic Speed Racer, you definitely need to dive into this, because David Pepose is definitely giving a story to the fans of that. This is following along as Speed Racer. He wants so badly to be a race car driver, but of course his older brother was presumably killed in racing, and has made his dad, who used to be his brother's like pit crew person, very against the idea of speed racing. Long story short, at the very beginning, Speed does it anyway. Dad gets attacked by some people, has a heart attack, ends up in the hospital. The only way Speed can save the day is to actually join racing so that he can earn the money, so that he can get his dad the care he needs. Well, guess what? A new challenger has entered the ring in this issue, as we see a young racer who believes that it is Speed's father's fault that his father was killed in an engineering accident, and he wants to come after Speed and take down the entire racer family in the process. And Speed is so rash and so cocky that he is in so much danger with this race, and you're going to see exactly how much when you read the issue. Whatever Happened to Crimson Justice issue 5 from Mad Cave. This is such a cool superhero story that really gives us just a little bit of a different tale. This is all about an older man who used to be a superhero, and once he defeated his ultimate bad guy, everything kind of seemed to go to normal, and they didn't really need superheroes anymore. So he retired and opened up a coffee shop and kind of tried to live out his life normally. And part of the reason why is because the reason he actually defeated his villain that he's always fought against was because his young sidekick was killed by that villain, and so he turned around and went right back in the same level of violence to end that, and it just feels like that's not the very heroic thing to do. But over the course of the 5 issues, we have actually seen the return of, or a new copycat killer to the one that, that's a big spoiler, we won't show you that, to the one that was his previous villain before. Now we are in this epic battle. This is the last issue, and it is wrapping up all of the fight, and so we actually learn what happened the night that his sidekick died, what happened the night he took down his villain, and how all of these people are connected. And what exactly did happen to Crimson Justice, you're going to find the whole story wraps up for you perfectly well in that last issue. We've got TMNT Casey Jones issue 5 from IDW. If you followed along at the end of the last run of Ninja Turtles that ended on Ninja Turtles 150, Casey Jones was in a coma and was not doing much of anything at the moment. He awoke in this Casey Jones miniseries and was like, hey, I want to get back at it. Of course, Raph and April and all of the people in his life are like, you need to take your time and not get tied up into fighting and things because you just got out of a coma. And Casey, of course, is hard-headed and doesn't listen. And so he has been trying to help this young mutant girl actually find her dad who's gone missing. And in the process of doing so, he's learned that there is essentially this corporation that is using mutant blood to create a serum that is like empowering them to have all of this like superhero strength and things like that so that they can have their own army of mutanimals that they can use against other people. Casey ends up taking that serum and is now finding himself even more hot-headed than ever before, but he feels like it's also giving him the strength he needs to fight this battle. And Casey has made some terrible choices that have now put him from the hunter to the hunted, and he is in a lot of danger for the next issue, and we're gonna see if he can get out of it. The Twilight Zone, issue 5, also from IDW and their Dark imprint. What a big week for IDW, and so many good books too. This is such a cool little anthology series that actually brings us back to the world of the Twilight Zone. And this one, more than any of them, really actually reads exactly like the Twilight Zone episodes like played out. And so we are actually seeing this story of a woman who has a very specific scientific skill set, and she works really well with audio frequencies, and something mysterious happens at the bottom of the ocean, and so she is brought in to help with this investigation, which of course nobody takes her seriously because she's just the audio frequency doctor. And she is trying to explain to them that there's a weird humming sound coming off of this strange meteorite that's at the bottom of the ocean. And nobody really believes her because, again, they don't take her seriously, honestly, because she's a woman. And they start trying to do the investigation, and as they find themselves out in the ocean, some really crazy stuff happens with the aquatic life and the world around them, and we get to see all of that play out. And we get to see it all through Francavilla's art, which is really awesome. These are one-shots, so you can pick up any of them that you want, and definitely if you are a fan of classic Twilight Zone episodes, this is one that you're going to not want to miss. All right, Matt, cover your ears. We've got the Beauty issue 4 from Ignition Press. This is, if you are watching, or if you watched, I guess it just ended this week, if you've been watching the show The Beauty and you haven't jumped into the comic yet, you absolutely need to do so. This is all about a world where a sexually transmitted disease has broken out that causes people who get it to basically become extremely beautiful, except a lot of crazy things happen to people who get it, and a lot of that ends in death and destruction. In Volume 1, which came out years ago, we got to see some of that kind of play out. Now we are picking up again with a new series. If you didn't read the old one, it's okay. This one actually starts exactly the same way and helps you, discover what's going on. But in this volume, we are actually following a couple different people, including some FBI agents who are trying to figure out what is happening with these really weird beauty crimes that are people attacking people with the beauty. We're also seeing a thief for hire who is getting herself into some dangerous situations, trying to actually figure out how to break into this world of the beauty. And then we have this meteorologist who really wants to get higher ratings, and so he figures the best way to do that is to actually go out and get the beauty. And not only that, but in this issue we see a completely new character who's coming into the situation, who actually finds he's a football player who's kind of at the end of his rope. He's at that past his prime. And so he also is like, maybe the solution is to get the beauty. And so we're seeing all these people constantly making choices. We're seeing people from the original arc starting to show up in this one. And you'll recognize some of them from the TV show kind of concept as well. So if you are loving the beauty show, or if you love season 1, make sure you check this out. And if you did watch season 1, no spoilers in the comments. You can say you love it, but don't tell anybody what happened, because the season finale did just happen. We've got 7 Years in Darkness, issue 4 of year 3 from Midnight Factory. If you have not read 7 Years in Darkness yet, this is essentially a really darker version of Harry Potter for adults, with awesomely cool Joseph Schmocky art. And we have been following along. Basically, there's a group of witches and magical people who are basically brought to this, their kids are brought to this school. They're supposed to spend 7 years in the school learning this magic and their role in the magical world. And if they fail, they die. And so only a certain amount of people will actually make it out. And we are getting really far into the experience here. Obviously, we're 3 years in and we're coming near the end of the 3 years. And so a lot of students have died and a lot of things have happened, including one of our students becoming turned into a different type of creature. We're starting to see these demons and things like that coming about. We're seeing people who have learned that the witch world exists who are trying to destroy it. And so we're actually seeing this dark mother in this arc of the series who is responsible for this demon who has caused so much havoc and pain on these students. And so they actually have to contain that demon and learn to keep these students safe. And whether or not that's actually even a possibility as this world is starting to get more and more dangerous is something we're going to see. But again, if you are interested in things like those magical schools, but you are always I really wish this was so much darker, 7 Years in Darkness is definitely going to bring you that. I'm going to take a drink of this wine really fast because I'm really curious what it tastes like. Oh, that is so many more flavors. That is so much spicier now. Wow. Wow. A lot of spice to that. I love spicy wines. All right, we've got Afterburn issue 4 from Red 5. This is wrapping up this realm of the Afterburn world. This is also something that's going to be a movie soon. This is about a world where basically there was a lot of fallout. People have become mutated from this different things that have happened, and we are seeing these people who you start to avoid the different regions of the world where people have mutated because it's dangerous, and also you don't want to be in this radiation that's going to cause you to mutate. But there's this group of people who are essentially mercenaries or thieves who go out and do different things in the Afterburn, in the burn zones. And in this world, in this series, they've been tasked to go and find a young woman who is the heir to an emerald mine. And they are we have to go save her from this place because her uncle, who is the other person in charge of this company, wants to find her because he thinks she's been kidnapped by mutants. But what we learn is that is not the case, and that the uncle is actually after all of this stuff. And so our mercenaries have had to make the decision of what side they're actually going to be on. Are they on the side of the man who sent them on the job, or are they on the side of the woman who doesn't trust her uncle? And where is that going to leave them? This is the wrap-up of this, and so you're going to get to see them make some tough choices. And you're also going to get to learn a little bit more about this world, which is really cool because there is a movie coming. There are also 2 previous volumes of this, but all of them are kind of these standalone stories of the different adventures that they go on. So you can just jump in for this 4-part series, or you can read one of the previous volumes. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles X Godzilla issue 4 from IDW. What would it look like if the Turtles and Godzilla mashed up? We've all been wondering for so long, because the Turtles have teamed up or fought everybody, and Godzilla has teamed up with and or fought everybody. And now guess what? They're finally doing the thing where they're going against each other. And we learned that this is something that Master Splinter has actually been a part of before. And so he's teaching the boys that if they want to actually stop Godzilla and all of the other kaiju that are attacking the world, that they need to work in unison. But in issue 3, the boys were constantly ragging on Donnie, and Donatello decided he was over. And yes, that is a kaiju Krang on the page right there. They were ragging on Donatello, so Donatello decided he was out, which means the boys don't have the balance they need to fight now. Meanwhile, as we have seen in the Kaisai era, we can actually take the kaiju energy and put it into things. And so Bebop, Rocksteady, and, of course, as I showed on the page, Krang, have all figured out how to make themselves into kaiju so that they can battle against these kaiju and against the Ninja Turtles in a whole new way. It's fantastic fun. If you are fans of either of the properties, you're going to absolutely love this. And I really hope that the turtles can figure out how to work together and find Donatello to save the day. We've got Deadhead issue 4, and this is from Iron Age Horror Comics. Iron Age is putting out some like crazy little books like this that are filled with horror fun, and Deadhead is definitely one of them. This is a book all about essentially a serial killer who's kind of over all of the other serial killers doing all of the terrible things that they do. So he's kind of been taking them all out, and we've gotten to go on this adventure with him and see these moments like this where he really just knocks out a bunch of serial killers. But now he's kind of met his match, because there is a killer who may be Satan, maybe just a demon, kind of comes in and is like, hey, I love your style. I want to see what you can do. Like, come be a part of my team. Like, let's take these evil spirits out together. Also, I may be more evil than all of you, but like, what are you going to do about it? If you just want to see a cool, like, hack slash kind of story that literally is just leaning in on the hack and slash of it, with some cool art and some cool character design, you should definitely check out Deadhead. The Shiver of Christmas Town, issue 3 from Dynamite and their Disney imprint. If you are a fan of Nightmare Before Christmas and you were always like, I want to see them go into the other towns, finally, you're starting to get to see moments like that. In this one, we are spending our time in Christmas Town, as they are actually trying to teach them what Halloween would look like if they did it in other places. And Lock, Shock, and Barrel have actually been required to teach them how to do trick-or-treating on Halloween nights. But of course, they think that they need to bring some kind of fun pranks into the area, and they end up stealing Shiver, who is a little polar bear with special powers that Sally and Dr. Finkelstein had in their home. And now the bear is on the loose and has an unfortunate sugar obsession and is jumping in to eating all of the delicious candy cane cottages and things of that nature in Christmas Town, causing a little bit more of a muck than anybody anticipated. Lock, Shock, and Barrel, meanwhile, are actually kind of enjoying the cuteness that is the Halloween, the way Christmas Town does it, which is a lot more similar to what we do in our world. It's a really cute story. We're not done yet. We just got some new antagonists coming into the story to really make things difficult for them, and Lock, Shock, and Barrel are going to have to work probably with Sally to figure out how to save the day before it's too late. I really can't wait to see this, because I do believe we're going to see some more of the towns through some more Nightmare series, and I think that's great that we're finally getting that. We have Artillery issue 3 from Invader Comics. This is a series that's all about the power of art and just a really cool way of showing artists fighting back against what we're seeing happening with AI and different things of that nature right now. And so this involves a graffiti artist and a digital artist and a comic book artist all coming together to have to figure out a way to save art from being destroyed. And basically in this story, we've learned that there's these 12 gates into the art world, the world of imagination, and they're all kind of tied to different points of art history and different major pieces of art throughout time. And our team has been required to figure out how to save some or all of those pieces before it's too late. And they did not accomplish that, because they are going up against the very internet and all of the craziness. And so now they are trying to figure out in this last issue how they can build a new gate that maybe they can use to block the destruction of art from the internet, but also build a new access point for people to actually talk to the creativity inside of them and do that. And we actually get to see the really big power of comics in this issue, which is awesome. If you're somebody who is on the side of traditional art and you want to see like artists and you're like, let's fight like the good fight together, this is such a good story to actually just feel like we're using art as a weapon in such a cool way. We've got Tales of the Shadow Man, Ghost of the Bayou Part 3. This is from Valiant and Alien Books. One of the things that Valiant's been doing as they've been coming back through Alien Books is they've been doing each of the arcs kind of as their own point. Like, instead of, it continuing at issue 4, even though the story is going to continue from here, they're kind of just launching them in these little mini arcs that you can follow along with. And as we've come back to the Valiant world, we've learned that Shadow Man doesn't actually seem to know in this new revival who he actually was before he became the Shadow Man, before he became the Loa of the other side. And so he has been working with this woman who is a detective to help her solve some cases of mysterious beings in her side. And his payment that he expects for her to give him is to actually help him figure out who he is. And when she does that, they realize over the course of these 2 issues, something has happened to her own husband. And so now she's asking Shadow Man to help her cross into the dark side, the other side of the world, the Umbra, as they call it, to figure out how to find out how to bring her husband back. But you can never truly trust the other side and the demons that are on it. And so she does find herself mixed up in all kinds of battles. And while we get a little bit of that resolved in this, again, this does continue on to another small arc that's going to bring us a new story, continuing this journey soon. Briar Night Terrors, issue 3 from Boom Studios. This is the 3rd volume of Briar and the 3rd issue, but, we've seen a lot of people who've actually just picked up right here and kind of caught up to the story from there. I think you should read the whole thing because it's awesome, but this is the story of Briar Rose, who we know from Disney stories that is Sleeping Beauty, but in this world, she actually was never woken up by the prince. What actually happened is when the prince showed up to wake Briar Rose up from her deep sleep, he actually convinced the king to just let him run the country and for them to just leave her asleep. And why did they need her? And so he actually took over, and because of that, it's now been 100 years, and she's woken up, and she is the same age as she was before, but the world is not the same around her, and we've been going on this adventure. She's trying to take out her Maleficent, who has a different name because that name is owned by Disney, and so they are trying to figure out how they can stop this evil fairy witch that's kind of brought this darkness on her. But we have learned so much along the way. We've made some friends, we've fought some battles, and as we get closer and closer to this witch, we actually are learning more and more about her true connection to Briar Rose and what actually happened that day where she was, cursed to find herself sleeping for 100 years. If you're a fan of Sleeping Beauty at all and you have not started Briar, go back and get those first 2 volumes, get this, and jump in because you're going to absolutely love it. Defenders of the Earth, Dark Destiny, issue 3 from Mad Cave. This is continuing the Defenders of the Earth story that they've previously done, but it's great because, again, by doing it as another small mini-series, you can actually jump in here, and they give you a really nice recap in issue 1 of what all's been going on for the Defenders of the Earth. But we are following along. Flash Gordon has been basically told that he is the bad guy of this world and that they need to destroy him. And he was about to be destroyed when some mysterious person came and stole him from the place, leaving his allies, the Defenders of the Earth, behind to kind of deal with it, of course, trying to find him. We've got all the classic Flash Gordon and the Defenders of the Earth moments as we are seeing Ming suddenly appear out of nowhere. And is he the bad guy or is he the good guy? What's really going on? If you read the first arc of Defenders of the Earth, you know that Flash has been trying to figure out what happened to Dale, his beloved, as all he has of her is a robot-like hologram kind of leading her. Meanwhile, while they're dealing with all of this on Mongo, the kids are actually dealing with how to find these adults and also how to solve the problems of what is actually happening. And our young defenders have actually figured out the truth of what's going on, and we actually get to learn what exactly that is in this issue and kind of start putting things together from the previous Defenders arc and this one as well. So if you are fans of those classic pulp characters, jump in because you're going to get the Phantom and everybody all together in this series. The Digger issue 2 from Invader Comics. We are seeing a big story unfold in a really cool way with the art and storytelling in this book. But this is mostly following a mysterious dig and a man who we don't really know much about. He seems to possibly be extremely dangerous, but he is somebody who's trying to find an artifact that is lost in like the Mexican jungles, and he goes and is trying to find it, and what he needs is a guide. And so who he actually recruits is a young kid who in issue 1 we learned is kind of on his own because his only family member is deathly sick. And so this kid has taken this job of being the guide for this man, this mysterious man, because he needs the money that this guy's going to pay him. And the kid is now stuck in this adventure, and they are already getting into all kinds of dangers because there's so many other people who are after this money, like, or this artifact, but also like who are these people and why do they care about this mysterious digger? And so we are seeing a lot unfold, and I'm really worried about this kid, and I hope he makes it through, but we're going to find out as we keep reading. Do Not Disturb, issue 2, also from Invader. What a great week for Invader, too. And this series is another one that they're just absolutely crushing it with. I love this concept so much. This is about a hotel that, a little Hotel California-ish that you can check in, but you can never check out. Everybody here is not alive really anymore, and we have a detective who's come here because he is trying to investigate something that's happened with a mysterious missing woman, and he's trying to make sure like that she doesn't die because she's been taken to the hospital, and he knows that her body is still alive, but he's trying to figure out the whodunit of it all. So we get this murder mystery in this hotel, and it's kind of in some like Shining-esque kind of moments. They have like these different parts of the hotel are still kind of in the place that they were at the last time that they were really used. And so like one of these bars is actually like, oh, the last time they redesigned it was the 80s, and so it's still stuck in the 80s, and so are the people in it. And there's no swimming pool at the hotel, but actually there was at one point. So if you walk through the right wall, you can find the swimming pool from before. Our detective has just learned that there is the usual suspects, a mob style sort of people who are there, and they may be responsible for his missing girl's soul, and whatever else is to come from this. And so we do actually get our first little glimpse into investigating some different people and seeing what's going to happen in this world. And I really love the whodunit and the mystery of all of this, and the fact that this hotel can suddenly be anything. It's really one of those, like, when we talk about, like, oh, especially in comics, the setting is a character in and of itself. This book took that and ran with that concept, and this hotel has just become like something completely relevant in every aspect, and how they change it and manipulate it is so cool. We've got issue 2 of Thundar the Barbarian. This is from Dynamite Comics, and them bringing back the classic like Hanna-Barbera, Warner Brothers cartoons in different comic form. And so in this story, we are actually seeing Thundar in a couple of different ways. We are seeing him initially, like, the frame tale of this is that Thundar is living inside of like a gladiatorial kind of time period, and he is forced to fight in these big battles. But the thing is that while Thundar wins each and every match, he constantly finds himself going back and falling asleep and seeing himself in this futuristic place where he and his friends and allies that he's had on his team are actually working to solve these bigger problems. They're fighting against robots and tanks and humans and different things like that, and they have this alliance that they've always done. But at the same time, he thinks that's all a dream, and it's like, is that the dream, or is the gladiatorial match a dream that he's kind of suffering through? And so we do get to see a little bit of that and what it would look like to bring that all together in this issue, because we are starting to see some of the other characters pop up in that gladiator ring, and we're like, what is real and what is not, and what's actually manipulating what. We're gonna hopefully find out at some point. I think issue 3 is gonna be a big shift of us actually seeing more of the reality of the world. We've got the Autumn Kingdom, issue 2, from Oni Press, and this is actually volume 2, and you do 100% need to read volume 1 in order to get this, because issue 1 of volume 2 picks up exactly where issue 1 left off. This is a story of two sisters whose dad writes young adult fantasy, and the girls have always been really into the stories and felt like their dad was kind of writing them into it. When they go out on a vacation, which is really the dad's writing retreat in volume 1, both of the parents go missing, and it seems like the very thing that stole their parents is the monsters and creatures and fairies and ogres and things of the world that their dad has created. And so in volume 1, the two sisters are trying to fight to find their parents, and they don't fully accomplish that goal. And so now in volume 2, one of the sisters have been separated, and so one of the sisters is attempting to find the one sister while the other is still fighting to find the dad from the people who have kidnapped her. And these two worlds are kind of collapsing in on themselves, and what is fiction and what is reality is definitely something we're going to question by the end of this issue. We've got Astro Quantum issue 2 from Mad Cave. This is your heavy sci-fi story. We don't have a lot of our sci-fi books are like a little sci-fi, like with like more action and things like that. This one is very heavy sci-fi. If you are a fan of something like Free Planet, this is going to be another one that you're going to want to jump into, because they are building a very big world. And we saw in the last issue that we did have a character who was kind of wanting to join up into like this rebellious army of people and wanted to kind of just get off his planet and go and explore space. And he teamed up with somebody who was like, okay, we can absolutely do that, but we're going on this pirate spaceship that's going to be extremely dangerous, and we might not make it out alive, and most likely you won't make it out alive. And in this issue, we are seeing some of those big adventures, but we're also introducing whole new planets, bigger worlds. We're introducing like an actual like fight, a group of people that's fighting against these pirates. And so we do get to see just a little like bigger and bigger pieces of this world. We get to see some good guys, we get to see some bad guys, and we get to learn that while our pirate himself, like in our team that we're on, might not necessarily be the bad guys, they're definitely not the good guys either. And those relationships are already being tested as this group kind of makes their way through space. And we're gonna keep going on this very big adventure. And I have a feeling we're gonna learn more about the world in the next issue before we even dive into like more of what's actually happening. Touched by a Demon, issue 2, and this is from Dark Horse. This is such a good issue. I was really, really excited for this one. You laugh, you cry, you just kind of love the characters. I love it because it is kind of a play on, and they even have the same font as Touched by an Angel, the old TV show that was really cheesy in the 90s, about some angels who were living on Earth and whose job it was to help people. This is about two demons who decide that they don't want to, demons are just fallen angels, and they feel like they should earn their way back into heaven, and they don't want to be demons anymore. And so they start a life coach business that is going to help them help humans, and they are absolutely incredibly terrible at it. And it's almost like if you took the comedy and the trial and error of Psych and mixed it with something like Touched by an Angel, this is what you would get. And so in the first issue, they were trying to help a girl who said that she hated her family get away. The girl took matters into her own hands and handled it absolutely terribly. In this issue, they start out by trying to help a guy who says that he wants to get back with his wife, only to find out that they are definitely helping with the situation in a really wrong way. They do some great job of making some social media ads that advertise that you should come use their services and also get free pins, and it's great that like everybody just wants the pins. It's so hilarious. And we get to see our demon to create a relationship with the local priest and kind of see not everybody is as holy as we think, but also not everybody is as evil as they believe themselves to be. And so really funny, really charming book. I definitely think that this is going to end up being one of those books that by the time we get to the end, we're just kind of all obsessed with how great it is. All right, we got some number ones. Gaston is getting his own Disney villain series from the Dynamite Disney collection, and it's just so great to see.
Who's Gaston
from Beauty and the Beast. He is the villain in Beauty and the Beast, and one of the things that is Gaston is known for is that he's really just the epitome of toxic masculinity. So it's kind of nice to see Gaston kind of get his comeuppance a little bit in this series. They couldn't really just like give him a story where we actually liked him because he's just really hard to like. And so in this, he and LeFou are trying to, you know, go about their lives, and a man comes in who everybody thinks is more handsome than him, who works for the king, and that man loses the king's horse, and he needs somebody to help find it, and Gaston is like, I am the world's greatest hunter, I will find this horse. But Gaston stumbles onto the wrong property and ends up in trouble, and also has now found himself making a sorceress very upset. And we know anything about the Beauty and the Beast world, it's that when you upset a sorceress, you're going to find yourself dealing with that in a very beastly way, and Gaston is not any exception to those rules, and we get to see exactly how that is going to kick off for him, and, you know, he's going to have to deal with being as small as his ego actually should make him. So it's going to be great. I can't wait. I love laughing at Gaston. We've got Nectar #1. This is from Vault Comics. This is your hot book of the week, and it's definitely setting up a hugely cool story that we're going to love. This takes place in Salem in 1837, and we are on an island, like it's an island village off the coast of Salem, really, and suddenly some mysterious things start happening. We see some really weird deaths happen, and it leads to these butterflies kind of coming out of this dead body, and that's what we see on page 1. And then they fly off to the island, and on this island we are following along as this doctor who really actually loves bugs as well, is doing some research and kind of paying attention to different things that are happening, including the weird butterflies that are kind of moving in a place that they shouldn't. And then we see these 2 young girls who are playing around, and they meet one of the butterflies, and one of the butterflies lands on one of the girls and bites her, which is the thing butterflies are not known for doing. And so everybody kind of starts looking into what happened, and where could this butterfly bite come from, and what are these mysterious butterflies. And if we are reading along, we actually do not know. But if you know, you know where this is going to go. And so we're starting to see a really cool horror story that's going to open up in a really beautiful way. The art in here is really fantastic. And this cover is a Press Shann cover, which is always beautiful. We've got Cult of the Lamb. This is Last Sacrament special. This is from Oni Press, and it is related to the Cult of the Lamb game. It's also, we had a mini-series come out of Cult of the Lamb last year, and then we had a one-shot that kind of brought us to the next page. So instead of doing series again, we're actually just doing these like oversized one-shots to give us more of the story. So if you don't know the story of the game or the comic, basically there is a little lamb who is the last remaining lamb after so many of his people are sacrificed. And when the bishops try to take him out too, he ends up making a pact with a demon who's like, hey, I'll give you all the power you need to kill those bishops for killing all of your people if you start a cult in my name. And initially, the little lamb does do just that, but then he kind of gets just rage-induced, and he just wants to take out the bishops, and he also is like, dude, running a cult is way too much work, and I'm not into that. And so he stops paying attention. In the last one-shot, we saw him not paying attention to his cult so much that they started starving and suffering, and they ended up having, like, another person in the cult say, you know what, come with me, I will save us all, I'm going to build a different cult. And so in this one, he returns home from the battle to find out that everybody in his cult has left him, and he realizes he is not any better than the bishops because he's not doing a good job of taking care of his people. And so he starts on a quest to destroy all evil and also maybe take care of his people. It definitely feels like you're playing a game because you're like, oh, I messed up and everybody hates me now and I got to fix this. Like, you kind of feel a lot of that, like, pick this option versus this one. We've got Black Moon Ritual from AWA. This is a one-shot that's a part of the Prototopia line that they've been doing, which is basically if we take some science fiction kind of stories and we tell them about worlds that aren't necessarily utopias but aren't necessarily dystopias either, like what kind of falls in between? What are the possible futures where things could be good if we made the right choices, but still, we're never perfect. And so in this one, we are following a group of people who live on an island. And on this island, they have different, essentially, like, jobs that you're assigned by being assigned to a different house that you're going to work in. And we're following a guy who likes to surf, and he's not done any of the work to actually qualify for a house. And he's very upset when he doesn't get chosen for a role in any of the positions that he thought would just come to him naturally because he's so cool, and was upset to find out that that wasn't the case. Meanwhile, he has been having a relationship with a woman who is only on the island through, like, a hologram. And so they've been building this relationship for years. And after he doesn't make it into his group, he kind of blows up on her and she disappears. And he is left only with the only company being from a man who suddenly mysteriously arrives on a ship. And he's determined to kind of figure out how he can use this ship to help him find his missing friend. And we get a really, really cool Afro-futuristic story of this guy kind of figuring out who he wants to be and what he wants his role in the world to actually be. Again, one shot, so I'm not going to show you too much from the back so you don't see the whole story. Lands Unknown, The Skinless Man. This is issue 1 from Dark Horse and Our Curious Objects, which is our Hellboy universe. This is one of those stories where you don't need to know anything about Hellboy at all to jump in. And we're just following these adventurers who are on a quest, and they are seeking something. We don't know what it is necessarily at the beginning. And they end up finding a cabin in the woods that a witch is in, and they're worried that the witch is going to attack them. But she's like, look, I'm not going to attack you, but I will tell you this story I think y'all need to keep in mind while you're on your adventure. And she starts talking about a skinless man and a baby that he finds, and a lot of people that were with him on this adventure. Like, some of them wanted to eat the baby, some of them wanted to use it for its power, and other different things. And they end up that this skinless man, like, finds his baby and takes it back to try to figure out how to actually get the skin off the baby and onto him, so he is no longer skinless. And he hires these, like, mysterious, like, magical people, these sorcerers, to help him, and they end up sending him on a quest so that they can steal the baby for themselves and use the magic. And we learn how that connects to the very quest we're on. This is one of the Hellboy series, so there's only 2 issues, so you get so much of the story already in here. But of the Hellboy stories that we get in these 2 issues, this is definitely one of the ones where it's, like, really heavy on what they're, like, putting into it instead of just kind of letting the art speak for itself. There is a lot of story to this, and I'm curious where it's going to take us. We've got Thundercats Lost in Time. This is a one-shot that's going to lead us into the crossover that combines Thundercats and Silverhawks. This is also from Dynamite. All covers of this were blind bag covers. So if you were like, oh, I wanted to read it but I don't want a blind bag, you're kind of out of luck because they're all blind bags. But it's cool because you never know what you're going to get. This kind of picks off, we saw a little bit of this at the end of Thundercats Lost, where they suddenly found themselves being kind of taken by the Silverhawks and being told that they needed to go to the future. This puts them in that future and allows them to actually learn, what are the Silverhawks? How did we get here? What terrible things are happening to the Thundercats? Like the fact that it's illegal to be a cat in this world, and something bad can happen to you if you find out that they're there. And the problem is that the Silverhawks are trying to stop this, but they can't. Some of the Silverhawks, some of them are bad guys, some of them are good. But the ones that are trying to help them, they can't actually help them because the Silverhawks that are, like, running the show now, that are these bad Silverhawks, they're actually got precog technology. And so they're able to see who's going to commit a crime before they do. And so they're, this kind of Groundhog Days, them trying to figure out how to stop the precog technology that the Silverhawks are using in order to do it so that they can send them back in time so that they can stop the war that before it even starts. And so we get to see that over and over again cycle of them trying to figure out what's going to happen as they figure out what the precog tech is and how to get the stuff that they actually need to go back in time. And then it will obviously lead into the series. I'm very excited about this next thing. This is so exciting for me, and I don't know if anybody, I know like 2 people will probably be just as excited, but because he's public domain now, we actually get Pooh Bear Adventures. This is right now, for now, this is a one-shot from Keenspot, but Keenspot keep going because this takes actual classic Winnie the Pooh, the very like Winnie the Pooh story that you know from the very beginning of the stories. If you read Winnie the Pooh or actually watched the Disney, they do use that first story. This takes that very first A.A. Milne story and tells it for us. And so it starts with Piglet wanting to go out and see what's happening in the world, and he sees Pooh Bear standing out there looking at some footprints in the snow, and Pooh Bear's like, I want to figure out what these where these footprints go. They start following the footprints. As they do, the footprints grow. Suddenly it seems as if there are more creatures that are walking on this path, and they're scared that it might be woozles or wuzzles or something that's coming for them, and they feel like they need to keep going, even though Piglet is very afraid and is coming up with lots of reasons that they should be allowed out of this adventure. And of course, Pooh Bear is like the only person who could help us solve what these creatures may very well be is Christopher Robin. And so we get to see that. If you've read classic Pooh Bear stories, you know how this goes. You know where the footprints come from. You know the hilariousness and the adorableness of this story. And if you are a big Winnie the Pooh fan and you want to grab this book, the coolest thing about the whole thing is they come with trading cards. So this is a Winnie the Pooh trading card with art by Tessa Rose. They are numbered cards. They're so cute. You get Pooh Bear cards. And again, it's that classic Winnie the Pooh story. So I'm very, very excited, and I think everybody should buy it. Let's sell more. Let's sell it out. Let's make it a big deal because it's Pooh Bear. And he's so cool. We've got Hannah and the Hells versus the Beatles. This is from Floating World Comics. And this is told in a very like zine style way. So if you are a fan of zines, you are going to love this. This is about an all-girl rock band who, they don't think they're very good. They're very punk, and they play these bars and nobody ever pays them. And so they're like, we're probably not very good. And the one singer is like, I think we could be better if I had a different guitar, but nobody ever pays us for our gigs. And here, like the guy, the club promoter and the owner, he's like, oh, well, I don't have any money for you guys. Here's the little tiny bit that I have. Y'all can have this. So they all pull their money together so that the guitar player can go out and buy the guitar that she wants, only for them to show up to the guitar store and find out that when they went to go, or now that they can finally afford the guitar, it just sold the day before, and it sold to John Lennon. And they're like, what the crap? Nobody likes the Beatles. Why would they? Like, no, John Lennon, that hippie, he doesn't deserve my guitar. And so they're like, we've got to figure out a way to get this guitar away from John Lennon. And so they actually come up with a whole plan to like break into Paul McCartney's house where all of the Beatles are staying and figure out how to actually steal this guitar back from John. And it is a hilarious hijinks that go completely and totally wrong in a way that only a zine could give you a great story. So check that out for sure. All right, and then we've got Narco issue 1 from Image Comics. Another big book this week, and if you went out and you picked up Narco this week, I am going to highly suggest that you also go back and pick up Plastic and Vinyl and Plush and I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer, so you can get the complete world that the Wagner and Hillard are building with these books, because they are so good with these alternative like people's serial killer stories. Narco is all about a guy who is following along on serial killers, kind of running his own true crime podcast out there, and he's obsessed with Pop-Tarts and obsessed with breaking things down and figuring out where all these serial killers are coming from. And also, when his heart rate gets above 200, he passes out. And so he doesn't know what happens in those moments. He can't control it. But he is like an adorable college student who really is just in love with the girl that lives across the hall, who he's always had this crush on. And him and his friends go to the same diner every day so that he can talk to her. And it's so stinking cute. And he actually has this, this one day where he's actually supposed to go on finally go on the date with her, and some crazy, terrible things happen. And we don't really know what they are because he doesn't either, and we are in his mind. Seriously, the Wagner Hillard the serial killer books somehow make like the most sympathetic characters out of the weirdest things. You are gonna love this book. If you didn't already pick it up because it is so good, and it's gonna be absolutely fantastic. I am going to take a drink of my wine before we talk about some picks of the week. Wow, it just keeps getting spicier. Man, I'm like, wow, that's so much more spice. Okay, so we've got some picks. We're gonna kick it off with a new number 1 this week that I'm really excited actually to see where this goes. This is Exploit number 1 from Mad Cave, and I'm so excited about this book. A lot of times, like when things make it to picks of the week, part of it is like highly generated by concepts, and this is definitely one of them. But I do love our lead character. This is all about a girl who is working at Riot Magazine, and she is determined to actually be a journalist. She wants so hard to actually have this like this career as a journalist, and she didn't get there early on. Like, she's just now an intern, and she's in her 30s, and she's like, I know I messed up, I didn't know what I wanted to do, I didn't know how to get here, but I'm finally here. But because she's an intern, they won't let her pitch stories, and she's like, I have this great idea, I know this story needs to come out. And they're like, great, do you actually have any resources to do that? And she's like, well, no. And they're like, okay, this is why interns don't pitch stories. Well, while she's in this world and she's working with her friends, and it all seems like they're like building towards something, the CEO, or not the CEO, the editor-in-chief gets a phone call, and they find out that this billionaire CEO guy who doesn't believe in free speech and free press and writers has bought Riot, and now they're all out of a job after the next issue. And so they've got one issue to really just like, stick it to everybody and like actually show the power of journalism and why it matters before it's too late. And she's determined to find a story of her own, and she ends up talking to this girl that lives in her apartment complex that she's friends with, and they might have the secret information that is like the hidden files that can take down all of these corporations and all of these like dangerous people. And she's like, I want to expose everybody, I'm in. And so she gets herself tangled up in all this stuff, trying to figure out a way. But even the editor-in-chief is kind of like, do you really have this story? Or are you the intern trying to make a name for herself before it's too late? It's going to be so good. We're going to get some of that like mystery and intrigue. We're going to get to see the power of journalism. We're going to get like kind of almost like a spy novel, but mixed in with that, like the power of the press is so important, and the truth will out. Like, truth is your weapon. I'm so excited to see where this goes. We've got like a really great character too, because she has so much passion for trying to tell her story and to trying to like just expose things. But it's also, is it like, do you really want to tell the good story, or do you just want that byline? And so the editor is not really wrong. So we're seeing so much already of development in every character, like so much. I cannot wait to see where Exploit's gonna go. It's gonna be so good. We've got Bloodland number 2 from Ignition Press. This book continues to just compound on what it did in issue 1, which I think we need to get more copies of. But this is, while this is, pitched as like a vampire story, this is definitely something much more than that. We are seeing it as, the overarching premise that we're being able to see, like, that kind of makes it supernatural, is that there are vampires and that they are kind of working to take over the country. Like, there are people who get pregnant are essentially just put into hospitals and like put asleep essentially so that they can farm their babies for these vampires to have. And the vampires are kind of controlling the White House. And so we're seeing a lot of that, but then we also have all these other factions of people who are standing up and starting these rebellions against that. And we're really kind of pushing it. And we learn a lot more in this issue about like who the president is and how the president has, you know, unconstitutionally done a lot of things through executive orders, like expanding his term in office and just putting in a bunch of things that shouldn't be allowed to be done, and how he's doing it all so that he can work with this vampire cell known as the White Cell. And we're seeing all of these people who are standing up and like fighting against this aren't necessarily who you would expect, like this scene right here where we find out that Texas wants to secede because it doesn't believe in how far these vampires have taken their control over the country, and we get to see like this radicalized Texas moment in here. This book has a lot to say and is saying it in under, you know, like with a cool vampire story, so you are getting like the vampire story, but you're also getting just like so much like political drama and real world situations kind of mixed into that. And so if you have not read Bloodland yet, you need to read it. It needs to be on like everybody's read list. And lastly, it couldn't not be here. It's the end of an era. Beneath the Trees, Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring, issue 6 from IDW. This is it. This is the end. This is the last of it. Beneath the Trees for the last 2 years has just been this phenomenal experience that Patrick Horvath has brought us, that features Sam the bear, who lives in a very Richard Scarry kind of world where happy, cute little animals where everything should be perfect and cookie cutter. But Sam is in fact a serial killer. And in volume 1, we saw that Sam has always killed like away from their home for the most part, so that nobody at home figured out who they were. But we had a serial killer in volume 1 who found out who Sam was and kind of wanted to expose them by getting Sam caught, essentially. And part of that was by killing other people in the town. Now, in this volume, we've been following along as Sam has had a mysterious woman show up who's looking for her dead brother, who we know Sam killed. And Sam is like, wow, I feel this really great connection to this person. Like, I've never felt so close to them and just everything about them. And that Sam really thought that there was like a magical friendship that was just going to blossom out of killing somebody's brother, which is psychotic and not how this went down at all. And so in this volume, we have seen Sam lose their grip on reality, but also kind of bring themselves back in their own unique way. We see the town really starting to fall apart over all of the destruction that's done. And in this issue, we get to see, you know, how Sam would burn it all down if that's what Sam was going to do. And it's such a fantastic conclusion. We don't see a lot of stories where from beginning to end a writer really just understood their character and their world and everything they wanted out of it. Like a lot of times when we see like a second or third volume of it, kind of like falls like not the same. This volume may be better than the first one. Like, it at least holds up to the same level of the first one. The whole story, like, it feels like one story. It doesn't feel like, oh, we had a volume and then we're adding another volume because it was so popular. It's like Patrick Horvath intended for it to be these issues all along. And the story wouldn't be complete without this experience that we see in this volume. And it's such a cool way to see this story told, and just flawlessly told and drawn and everything all the way through. All by Patrick, with Hasanas Manu Allahu on lettering, which, you know, how I feel about Hasan's lettering and how great it is. And this totally just, what a great team, what a great story all the way through. I'm sure more Eisners are coming Patrick's way for this book. All right, there's a bunch of other books in stock this week. We're going to fly through them really fast. We have Walking Dead Deluxe issue 132. We are seeing The Walking Dead reprinted in color. We are getting pretty close to the end of that again. Youngblood issue 4 came out. Batgirl issue 17. Iceman got his own series. This is Iceman Omega issue 1. Danny Moonstar also with this is the Shadows of Tomorrow run on the X-Men right now, and so we're seeing some other characters get some more love. We have the X-Men Annual out this week. Superman 35 with this adorable Chrissy Zullo, Clark and Lois cover. It's so cute. The Scourge number 49. Poison Ivy issue 42 is out this week. Justice Society of America issue 17. Absolute Superman also hitting issue 17, and Absolute Flash hitting issue 12. What is this? New Avengers. That's not new this week. We sold out of the actual Avengers that was new. Oh, we had Batman, Green Lantern, or Batman, Green Arrow, The Question, Arcadia, Book 3. We've got Daredevil, Punisher, issue 5, and then Batman, Static Beyond. This is Batman Beyond and Static, and this is issue 5 as well. And then Batman, our main Batman story, hits issue 7 with that Matt Fraction run. I cannot believe how fast Matt Fraction is putting that out. Holy cow. That is crazy, and everybody is loving it. So those are the new other single issues, and we have a lot of trade paperbacks, graphic novels, and manga also hitting the shelves this week. Here's just a couple of them. Blades of the Guardian, this is issue 1, and I love the softbound cover of this. Testament, this is a graphic novel about a United Colonial Fleet. Authorities sought volunteers for a one-way exploratory mission to a distant planet capable of supporting life. Does not go the way they plan. This is the testament of one of the people on the ship. Compacts added, yep, that's right, Nightwing to it. This is actually the Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo. This is the beginning of the series in compact form. That means it's $9.99. $9.99 for that Nightwing run that you're always asking if you can read. Guess what? Now you can. You can throw it in a lounge fly and it fit perfectly for $9.99. We've got Invincible. This is volume 14, which is issue 79 through 84. They are reprinting Invincible also in a more compact size. We've got Skating Wilder. This is a new Flying Eye graphic novel, and it's all about how it's all about skateboarding and all the cool crazy stuff that people who skateboard get into. What you made a face?
It's got like another thing to it too. There's a supernatural thing or something to it.
Does it? That's not. I don't know. That's not what it says. So you could be right. I don't know. It talks about the weird history of skateboarding and grinding, and some skateboarding members that say we're not experts, but we know how much the wooden toy means to communities that have embraced it and made it their own. And it's like actually like in here showed the page I just the page I just flipped through actually shows like how they build like vert ramps and stuff like in their backyard. Yeah, you might actually want to read this and check it out. News from the Fallout is finally collected in trade paperback form. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. This was such an awesome story about essentially a zombie-esque type breakout after a fallout of a nuclear bomb. Absolute Superman Volume 2 is out in hardcover and trade paperback form. If you have been waiting on catching up on Absolute Superman, there's your chance. Wild Animals from Mad Cave, also on paperback form. Great thriller story of a kid who really just wants revenge, but, it never is what you want it to be. This is Harley Quinn. This is Volume 2. This is issues 50 through 57 of the current Harley Quinn run. Which is on our volume 2 of this new writer and creative team. And then we've got Supermassive Volume 2. This is the combination of Cal, Red Planet, Radiant Pink, and No One, which I think actually came out last week, but just in case we didn't bring it. And then we had a couple of novels come in. We had The Ruins Beneath Us, which I'm really excited about. This is because I really just love sprayed edges and all of the beautiful designs on there, but this is about a girl who saved a princess and now she has to save the world, or saved a prince and now she has to save the world. And then The Wind Weaver, which is another high fantasy book about magic and adventure, which looks really, really cool. All right. That's the books we got for you. Don't forget, this week on Thursday at 7 p.m. is Fresh Start Book Club. We're reading issue 1 of Wicked and Divine. You can pick that up and shop on Wednesday for $1. Saturday at 11:30 and 3:30, we will have comic creation workshops for kids. Make sure you keep your calendar marked for all the fun and adventures that are happening at Bad City. You can find it on our Instagram, our Facebook, or even our website. So find that calendar and mark yours with all the stuff you want to come and join us for. Until then, we'll see you on Wednesday for New Comic Book Day, and we'll see you right here next week to wind down your weekend. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.